On January 11, 2026, in the District Court of the state, Judge West presided over a bond modification hearing for defendant Richard Volry. Volry faces charges of aggravated assault with a deadly weapon in case number 25 DCCR 1746, stemming from an alleged incident involving complainant Byron Collier. The state filed an emergency motion to increase Volry's $20,000 bond after receiving reports that Volry had been contacting Collier and driving by locations where Collier resides and works, potentially violating his existing no-contact order.
Volry, Mr. Lewis, good morning. You are Richard Volry?
Yes, ma'am.
And Mr. Volry is charged in cause number 25 DCCR 1746 with aggravated assault with a deadly weapon. Ms. Malfino and the state has filed a motion asking that I increase that bond, which is currently set at $20,000. Ms. Malfino?
Judge, I spoke to Mr. Collier, the complainant in this case, and filed that motion to increase or modify as he chooses. Based on that conversation, he has some concerns that Mr. Volry is contacting him or driving by places where he either resides or works, so on and so forth. So I've just asked if the court is not inclined to increase the bond at this time, if you will just admonish him about what a no contact order in your court need.
I will. Do you have any witnesses?
Judge, I had asked him to be here this morning. He called very early. He had a medical emergency and needed to go to an appointment. They had called him in with some abnormal results, and he needed to take care of that.
Mr. Let's see, is a GPS a condition of this bond at this time?
I don't think so, Judge.
So here's what I'm going to do, Mr. Volry, based on the nature of the offense and what Ms. Malfino is relaying to me. I'm not going to increase the bond today without witnesses and things like that. However, I am going to modify the condition of your bond so that there's no issue, hopefully, with where you are, where you're not supposed to be, and things like that. So I'm going to order as a condition of your bond that you will wear a GPS monitoring device. You will have 24 hours to get that device. You can talk to Mr. Lewis or your bondsman. They can let you know where to get that. You've got to have that on within 24 hours. You obviously have a no contact order already with Byron Collier. And so you're not to be anywhere near, around, or communicate with or contact Mr. Collier. That includes going anywhere near his home and or where he works. Do you know where he works?
No, ma'am, I was going to ask you that question. I just happened to go into the place, passed by the place where he works. I did not even know he worked, and I seen the gentleman, and I kept on going.
So here's the thing. Now that you know where he works, you need to take a different path. Does that make sense?
Definitely.
So there's always more than one way to get somewhere. So what's the place of?
There is a convenience store, the Chris Food Mart, at 3090 Gulf Street, and he also has an antique shop. I don't know the address of that, but I can get it to Johnny's or whoever when I'm able to speak with him again.
You know where the furniture store is?
Yes, ma'am. As a matter of fact, I passed right around the corner from my house. I just happened to pass in front of it.
Okay, so
Yes, ma'am.
obviously you cannot go to the Chris Food Mart on 3090 Gulf Street. Do you understand? Do you know which one I'm talking about?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, cannot go there. And you cannot, if there's another way out of your neighborhood or to get around that antique store or furniture store, you're not to go near that as well. Okay. And then, because what can happen is if for some reason he continues to feel like you're doing those things either on purpose, or to threaten or something like that, then we'll end up back in here with probably another motion. We'll have a whole hearing with witnesses, and your bond could be raised for not following these court orders and these restrictions, and you could go back to jail. Do you understand?
The prosecutor moved to increase the defendant's bond based on allegations of contact with the victim, but the judge declined to raise the bond amount without live testimony. Instead, Judge West modified the bond conditions to add GPS monitoring and explicitly define geographic exclusion zones to enforce the no-contact order. Under the Eighth Amendment, bail must not be excessive, and courts must balance the defendant's liberty interest against community safety and court appearance concerns, as established in Stack v. Boyle, 1951, where the Supreme Court held that bail set at a figure higher than reasonably calculated to ensure the defendant's presence is excessive. Most states have codified this principle in statutes governing pretrial release. For example, typical bond modification statutes permit courts to alter conditions when new information suggests the original terms are insufficient to protect victims or ensure compliance, provided the modification serves a legitimate governmental interest without being punitive. Judge West applied this balancing test by recognizing that increasing Volry's $20,000 bond without the complainant present to testify would be procedurally premature, yet the allegations of contact warranted enhanced monitoring. The GPS requirement serves the same protective function as a higher bond, ensuring Volry's whereabouts are known and that he can be held accountable for entering exclusion zones without imposing additional financial burden before the allegations are substantiated. This approach reflects the principle that bond conditions should be the least restrictive means necessary to achieve their purposes. Courts increasingly use GPS monitoring as a less restrictive alternative to pretrial detention or excessive bail, particularly in domestic violence and assault cases where victim safety is paramount. This case illustrates how technology can enhance judicial oversight while preserving defendants' liberty interests. But it also places significant burdens on defendants to understand and comply with complex geographic restrictions. Failure to do so can result in immediate incarceration without ever being convicted of the underlying crime.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so it is extremely important that you understand how serious it is not to have any type of contact, and that means just driving by.
Do you mind-
Stay in touch. What?
Do we ask a question?
Sure.
Yeah, he does not work at the prison anymore. And, what's the guy's name? Collier, Mr. Collier?
Uh-huh.
He does not work there.
He doesn't work there anymore.
Well, man, and I really need a job to go back to. Mr. Christmas calling me.
Let's do this. For now, I'm gonna have it, leave it the same. Will you please make sure of that? Get that information to Mr. Lewis. It's fine with me. If he's not working there and they want to hire you, that's fine. If he's working there, then you can't. But if he's not and just doing the furniture, I don't want him to also prevent Mr. Volry from being able to work. Okay, so make sure don't go do that until you talk to Mr. Lewis. Ms. Malfino will check on that today, get back with you, and then we'll go from there. There's some.
He was on the designation docket looking for an attorney. He hasn't qualified.
Oh, okay. And yeah, make sure you try to get that taken care of also, which obviously that's why you need to get a job. Okay. Mr. Lewis is your court appointed attorney, but because you bonded out, I expect you again, just like I told you before, nothing's changed. You need to try to still hire a lawyer, and get a job and all of those things. Bring me that information in your next court date. Okay. But stay in touch with Mr. Lewis regarding, where the Chris Food Mart. Mom's next door.
The defendant revealed he had applied for employment at a location connected to the complainant, prompting the judge to create a conditional employment authorization scheme. Volry can accept the job only after his attorney verifies the complainant no longer works there, with immediate reporting back to the court required. Courts possess inherent authority to regulate defendants' employment as a condition of pretrial release, provided such conditions are reasonably related to the charges and necessary to ensure victim safety and defendant compliance. In United States v. Salerno, 1987, the Supreme Court upheld the constitutionality of the Bail Reform Act's preventive detention provisions, recognizing that protecting community safety is a legitimate regulatory goal distinct from punishment. This authority extends to imposing occupational restrictions when employment opportunities create risk of victim contact. Though courts must avoid conditions so burdensome they effectively compel unemployment in violation of the defendant's right to maintain livelihood during pretrial release, Judge West navigated this tension by neither flatly prohibiting Volry's employment prospect nor permitting unverified access to the workplace. The conditional approval, contingent on attorney verification and same-day court notification, creates an accountability mechanism that protects the complainant while preserving Volry's economic opportunity. The judge also explicitly linked this to Volry's broader obligation to retain private counsel, recognizing that court-appointed representation may be insufficient for a case requiring this level of ongoing judicial supervision. Employment restrictions and bond orders can cascade into devastating consequences: job loss, inability to pay for private counsel, and increased likelihood of pretrial detention due to technical violations. Judge West's nuanced approach, conditional permission with verification requirements, offers a model for how courts can balance competing interests without automatically defaulting to prohibitions that may undermine defendants' stability and, paradoxically, their ability to comply with court orders over time. Judge West denied the state's motion to increase Richard Volry's $20,000 bond, but substantially modified the conditions of his pretrial release. Volry must obtain and wear a GPS monitoring device within 24 hours, avoid all geographic areas associated with complainant Byron Collier's residence and businesses, specifically the Chris Food Mart at 3090 Gulf Street and an antique furniture store near Volry's home, and secure verification from his attorney before accepting any employment where Collier may work. The court emphasized that any further allegations of contact would result in a full evidentiary hearing with live witnesses and potential bond revocation. Volry was admonished to continue efforts to retain private counsel and maintain employment documentation for his next court appearance. This case illuminates the delicate equilibrium courts must strike in pretrial proceedings, protecting alleged victims and ensuring court appearance without imposing punitive restrictions before any conviction occurs. The Supreme Court's framework in United States v. Salerno, 1997, and the Eighth Amendment's excessiveness prohibition provide the constitutional boundaries. But within those bounds, judges exercise tremendous discretion. Judge West's decision exemplifies problem-solving judicial approaches that use technology and conditional structures to address risk without defaulting to financial or physical detention. For viewers, this case demonstrates that bond hearings are not mere formalities. They are critical junctures where the conditions of a defendant's life for months or years are determined, often based on contested allegations heard without full adversarial testing. The GPS monitoring that enables Volry's liberty also creates a digital panopticon where any misstep, even unintentional, can result in immediate incarceration. Understanding these trade-offs is essential to evaluating how pretrial systems balance safety, liberty, and justice. If you found this case analysis valuable, subscribe for weekly deep dives into courtroom proceedings that reveal how legal principles operate in practice. Share this video with anyone interested in criminal justice, legal careers, or understanding their rights in the court system. Comment below with questions about GPS monitoring, bond conditions, or pretrial procedure. Your engagement helps us prioritize future educational content.